You know, I don't usually get to talk about things I enjoy. Too much bullshit comes into my radar. However, with things being calmer and me refusing to get into online heat, I've been enjoying myself more. So, I guess I get to finally talk about something I like. Today, gamers, we'll be talking about video games. Specifically, about a certain video game that was recently released. That, my friends, is No Straight Roads. First things first, No Straight Roads is an action-adventure game where you play as the rock duo Mayday and Zook, aka Bunk Bed Junction. Together they set out to destroy the NSR, an oppressive EDM empire, and all by using the power of rock. This game has been on my radar for quite a while, and now that it's been released, I get to finally play it. And, oh boy, I definitely have some things to say. However, before we get to that, I want to take a moment to tell you about our lovely sponsor, Skillshare. Listen, I know you skip the ads. I know you have an ad block on. The least you can do is listen to me talk about this for a minute. Now, Skillshare, in case you didn't know, is an online learning community where tons of people get together to learn and perfect their craft. Skillshare has tons of classes for you to learn from no matter what your level of skill. You'll definitely find something that fits you. Let's say you're a beginner at animation and you want to learn lip syncing. Well then, I'd recommend Simple Character Lip Sync by Fraser Davidson. The dude will also help you with your illustration, so that's a plus. Alright, so listen up gamers. Skillshare is offering you all something pretty cool. For a limited time, everyone who uses the link in the description will have a free trial of Skillshare Premium membership. I promise you, those who use the link will become a better gamer almost instantly. And all great gamers have my respect. So thank you to Skillshare, and on to the review. So heads up gamers, this review will definitely contain spoilers, and if you still want to enjoy the game for yourself, I'd recommend maybe skipping this one. There's your warning, let's continue. We start with Mayday and Zook trying out for the open position at the NSR. The NSR, if you don't know, is basically the sole energy and entertainment provider. Without them and their music, the entire city would be in a blackout. After passing what is basically the tutorial, the artists of the NSR vote you out of the competition. Apparently we're not good enough for them or something. The head of the NSR, Tatiana, tells them that rock is dead, especially after the failure of the previous NSR owners, Cool Fyra and her rock band The Ghoulings. By the way, remember that might be important. She tells them that the only music genre that matters is EDM. Mayday and Zook get kicked out after, threatening the leader, and they later find out that rock has been banned. And that's it, rock has been outlawed. It's illegal. Anybody caught playing rock within a 20-foot radius will probably be incinerated. From that moment on, the two decide to destroy the NSR by destroying all of the artists, one by one. It's not just to prove that rock isn't dead, but to also stick it to the man. Did people still use that phrase? Moving on, the first on their hit list is someone that I'd call a tryhard. This is DJ Subatomic Supernova. And yes, you must say his complete name every time, no exceptions. In my personal opinion, this fight, while having great visuals, is one of the most cluttered and confusing to navigate. Don't get me wrong, I do like this fight, but at the same time it's not much to write home about, and it's quite messy, if I'm honest. So, we're just gonna skip by this. After beating the shit out of DJ Subatomic Supernova and exiling him to the moon, you take his record album and it's time to move on to the next boss. However, before we can do that, we have to meet up with a fan who wants to help out. This is Cliff, and he's got some good information on the artists of the NSR. Here is where we learn what to do with the record that we got from DJ Subatomic Supernova. With it, we unlock a whole new district to explore, and it leads to the next boss. Which, by the way, the upcoming boss is someone who I can guarantee has a large legion of simps at her disposal. This is Sayu, a virtual singing mermaid who believes in gay shit like true love. Also, I feel like it's important to include this scene.
I can't believe I'm talking to this thing. She's not even real.
Shh, May, don't say the R word. It's a very taboo subject in this district.
The R word? You mean real? Look at her, Zook! She's not real!
Just putting in that final nail in the coffin. She's not real, guys, I'm sorry. Basically how this fight works is that you run around destroying her files, and you watch the creators behind Sayu squirm in panic. She has multiple transformations throughout this fight, but let me tell you, that final transformation... Oh god, she's beautiful. Once you actually beat Sayu, you get to be face to face with her creators. Mayday just tells the youngsters to stay in school, and it's off to the next challenge. But first, you get to unlock Sayu's district, which, by the way, is so disgustingly cute. I love it. Oh yeah, also F in the chat to this one guy who discovered that Sayu isn't a perfect waifu. So before we get to the next actual boss, you're introduced to somebody called DK West, aka Zook's brother. He's technically considered a boss, but honestly he doesn't feel like it. I mean, it's cool, the songs are a bop, but the fights are just kind of annoying. It's a fight you do 3 times, and I'm glad that you don't need to do the other 2, but the first one is absolutely mandatory. Like I said, it's fine, it's cool, the songs are nice, and it has a good little side story there, but that's really all I got to say on it. Now, moving on to the next actual boss, it's actually one of my favorite fights. Next is Ginu, a piano-playing 9-year-old prodigy. And guys, I know what you're thinking. Finally, I get to beat up a child. However, it's going to be a lot more interesting than that. You find Ginu playing in the concert hall, and before you actually get to reach her in her piano, Ginu's mother comes in to save the day. Okay, wait. Hold on. So, Sayu isn't real. She can't possibly exist. The possibility of a cute singing mermaid just can't happen. But this is real. Sure, alright. A majority of this fight is ranged, so you're really running around just trying to gather ammo. It becomes clear that Ginu isn't the actual boss of this fight, but her mom is. And based off the soundtrack, it sounds like she's also meant to represent the EDM of her music. Over the few stages of this fight, she also becomes more and more terrifying. Though once you actually beat Ginu's mom and you're about to finish her off, Ginu pops in for one final performance. However, before she can finish, Mayday breaks her piano. So, we ruin a small child's concert, terrorize her and her mom, and then smash her piano while almost killing them off in the process. Well, that's no skin off my nose. Off to the next boss. Natura is the next district unlocked, and in my opinion, it is the prettiest district. At the end of this district is our next boss, and it's one of my favorite fights for, certain reasons. Next is 1010, a band made of robot e-boys with Teletubby hair. Listen, alright? I love these guys. They're just so entertaining, and I mean, look at them!
When we show up, we get the sexy done. You better put on your tactical thermal goggles because we're gonna bring the heat!
Oh my god, they're amazing. I'm so proud of them. So once you actually get to destroy one of the boys, the captain shows up in a flying machine that just pops out a new e-boy. Yeah, you know that thing people say where they assume that the music industry is just making artificial boy bands? I wonder if it has any correlation here. It turns out that the captain, Neon J, is the actual boss since once you get past the e-boys, he becomes the main threat. He controls a giant bot with attacks themed after the boys. And by the way, the showstopper and album cover for this fight is hilarious to me. You see this album cover? No joke, I would hang this on my wall. So, now that we've beaten up the e-boy Teletubbies, we get the Metro Division. To me, I think this is one of the best districts in the game, no bias. At the end of this district, we get the next boss, and she's interesting. I'm not horny, I'm not horny, I'm not horny, I swear I'm not horny. This is Eve, and she's called the most dangerous artist of the NSR, and after fighting her, I can see why. She's pretty skillful at her craft, and I guess she just has the power to fuck your mind. We also find out that Eve and Zook used to be bandmates and good friends back in college, if you want to believe that. I'm sorry, but you can't convince me that they didn't fuck, especially with this line.
Remember when I was the tectonic plates and you were the sea? The heat we channeled when your waves broke upon my earth was euphoric.
They absolutely screwed. Eve gets jealous that Zook is in a new band, so the nice girl in her pops out and now she wants to murder them. Eve's fight has quite a few stages. I won't be detailing them all, but it gets pretty funky. There's even a stage where she separates the two characters and you have to switch between them. At the end, Mayday and Zook are finally reunited, and that's where you finish off Eve. At least that's what should have happened. The fight doesn't actually end there. There's another phase where Zook comforts Eve, and they finally find some closure. Upon my first playthrough, I thought she was just an exaggerated nice girl. However, it turns out that Eve is a lot more complicated than that, and out of all the NSR artists, I think she's the most fleshed out. Sometimes I feel like I can relate to her on a few levels. I'm not going to do a deep dive on her though. As much as I'd like to, we kinda have to move on. However, Eve is totally the best character in this game, don't even at me. After defeating Eve, you unlock the Fever Dream District, and this is the last one that leads right up to the NSR Tower, where Tatiana has been waiting for the rock duo. Before the fight, Mayday and Tati have this argument over the chaos caused by the rockers. It's during this conversation where Tatiana brings up quite a few good points.
Tell me, how do you intend to run the city if you win? What about the hundreds of NSR employees who'll be thrown out of work? Have you considered the inevitable insurgents from the people who still genuinely love EDM? Can you really run the city under those circumstances?
And you might also start to realize that you're not a very good person. You definitely didn't play fair, you hijacked concerts, and turned people against the NSR. And, not to mention, you threw a man into space, scared a group of teenagers who just wanted to make music, almost killed a child and her mother, destroyed a veteran's livelihood, and terrified an already unhinged artist. Yeah, those aren't very heroic things to do. This game also carries a political message that I understand, however, I'm not going to get into it, because I don't want to say something wrong and get cancelled on Twitter.com. So, Tatiana's fight is something that's had me confused for a while. I understand her fight gimmick, but I don't think the execution of said gimmick was great. I spent time wondering if I was actually progressing, if I did something wrong, or if the game was just bugging out on me. I mean, in the end, I don't think Tatiana's fight is anything to brag about. What matters is afterwards. After you beat her, you soon discover something. That apparently Tatiana is the legendary Cool Fyra that used to be the leader of the Ghoulings. Yeah, remember when I mentioned that back at the beginning? Upon discovering that her idol turned into the rock-hating woman she is today, you can imagine Mayday is pretty upset. This isn't even the end. It gets pretty goddamn wild. So, remember Cliff, the guy who's been giving them information on the NSR artists? Well, turns out the reason why he wanted to see the NSR get destroyed is because he's a giant goddamn simp! He and Tatiana go way back, and he was her biggest fan. Fyra was his queen. He promised his loyalty to her, and she crushed his heart. And guess what? She still doesn't give a shit about him. His simp monkey brain can't process rejection, so he decides to kill everyone in the NSR tower.
Warning. NSR satellite deorbiting sequence initiated. Inbound in 900 seconds.
They realize that this is a serious situation, so both Bunkbed Junction and Tatiana set aside their differences to stop the incoming satellite. However, before they go...
You guys won't succeed. Your fans will make sure of it. You broke my nose!
Holy shit, that's satisfying. So, what's the plan? Simply, we go to each district and give them back to each artist. Then head back to the main plaza for one final showstopper.
Bunga!
With the tower safe, the artists back in their districts, everything's back the way it should be. Bad news though, Mayday's guitar broke in the final fight. However, there's also some good news. Tatiana offers them a spot at the NSR and lifts the ban on other music genres, though they turn it down and decide to stay indie. More good news, Tatiana actually gives Mayday her guitar. How sweet! Now to wrap it up, music equality is a thing, everyone is given a chance to shine, everyone learns something new, and it's a nice and happy ending. So that's pretty much the story of No Straight Roads. There's a lot that I didn't go over, mainly for the sake of time. Now, I absolutely loved this game. There's so much that I could gush over, however, there's also some things I disliked, and that mainly has to do with its gameplay. So let's get the good stuff out of the way. Alright, so first things first, because I don't want you to hear me gush about it for too long, I love the art style of this game. The 2D sprites for the NPCs, Mayday and Zook all look so stylish and energetic, not to mention that there's 2D animation clips that show in every district that I also love. I seriously wish I could have the art book, but unfortunately they were sold only as a special collector's item. No joke, if any of you have the art book, name your fucking price. I'm willing to buy it off of you. The character designs are great, and they're all super unique. The models themselves also give me huge Psychonauts vibes, which is a game that I loved dearly. The aesthetic of the world is just fantastic, and each district has tons of personality that goes well with each boss. The music is an absolute bop. Sayu and 1010's boss themes are my favorite. In fact, all the music used in this review is a part of the soundtrack. As far as gameplay goes, the controls are serviceable. Basic controls like movement, dodging, and attacks are alright, and are about what you'd expect. The camera's fine too, and I'll get more into details about it, but unfortunately, that's when I'd get into the negatives in this game. Might as well get that over with. Okay, so I hate to do this, but I believe it's best to point out what's wrong with this game so that it can turn into the masterpiece it deserves to be. The first has to do with its controls and gameplay. While the attacks and movement is fine, I purposely left out the jumping mechanic. The jump, especially the double jump, is floaty, and personally it's hard for me to figure out where to land. You jump super high, and while that's not normally a problem in games, I don't feel like it works very well here. Another thing I want to mention are the special attacks. The separate special attacks for Mayday and Zook work fine. The issue are the duo attacks that you get from beating DK West. There's 3 of them, but really only one is useful, which is the dance that heals both characters. Also, I gotta add, the death screen isn't very impactful. I mean, no one likes seeing the death screen, right? But the game is made in a way that it feels like dying doesn't really matter, even despite the fact that it harms your grade. So, you know how I mentioned the camera before? Well, the camera's fine as long as you're playing in single player. It's not so great when you're playing 2 players. The camera only focuses on the first player, and when it's moved, it actually messes with the second player's controls. It's most annoying in the plaza since that's where you mainly use it, but it's still an annoyance. Another issue I have when it comes to 2 player is how you revive the other player. See, when a player dies, what you have to do is stand near them and hold the A button. Which sucks because during that, it actually disables the jump button. So you could be doing something like Ginu's fight where there's a lot of ground slam attacks and you're stuck taking damage while desperately trying to help the other player. Now, setting aside 2-player issues, I actually want to talk about the bosses and their attacks. So here's the cool thing about this game. All attacks follow a beat of whatever song is playing. Besides the visuals, you'd also have music to anticipate the incoming attacks. To me, the best example is actually Ginu's fight, especially this part. You can hear the music clearly and you learn at what beat the mother slams the ground. It's a super cool concept, and while the execution for the most part is great, it has its flaws. The most obvious issue is that sometimes the visuals and the music are out of sync. Interestingly enough, this game depends more on its music than on the visuals, so that can lead to something like you dodging something that you really shouldn't have dodged, or you taking damage out of goddamn nowhere. and it's all because the visual was a second too late. Okay, so I know that was a lot, but we're not done yet. There's also minor issues with the graphics and general bugs. I'll try to make this into a lightning round. Let's go. Sometimes the map bugs out and it shakes rapidly. Sometimes you fall through the floor, textures act weird and color NPCs, sprites can be missing and reappeared out of nowhere, and lastly, characters' clothing and hair freaks out or clips, and it's pretty noticeable in cutscenes. That was mainly my issues with the visuals of the game. Now, there's one last bit of criticism, and that has to do with the Spanish dub. On a second replay of this game, I decided to put the game in Spanish, and upon hearing the very first sentence, it was easy to figure out that the voice actors had Spain accents. In case you're not aware, a Spain accent sounds like this.
Vaya, bienvenidos amigos. ¿Habéis venido a recibir las melifluas burbujas de mi voz angélica?
Meanwhile, someone like me, who grew up with Mexican Spanish, sounds more like this. Vaya, bienvenidos amigos. ¿Has venido para recibir las melodiosas burbujas de mi voz angélica? See, we don't speak with the heavy or the in our sentences. Now, not to upset you guys from Spain, but that accent is kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. I speak Spanish and sometimes I couldn't even understand what the characters were saying. I'm not the biggest fan, I'm sorry, please don't cancel me. I just think it would have been better if they chose different accents, I'm just saying. Now, onto a serious note, the dub has a lot of instances where the audio just overlaps, so one character could still be speaking and suddenly another character just butts in.
Somos los Bumped Junction, ¿te enteras? Y hemos venido a impedirte que NSR lo controle todo. La gente de Vinyl City merece saber lo que es el rock.
Fascinante. Esas aspiraciones.
To me, it really gives the impression that the devs didn't really care about the dub, and another thing that lets me think that is that during battle, boss taunts are still in English. Maybe you'd call this a minor complaint, but I really don't think it is, considering that video games reach all kinds of audiences. So, is that everything? Holy shit, we finally reached the end of this review. Alright, so I gotta let you guys know before we end this, I know I just finished dragging this game through dirt, but don't get me wrong, I loved this game. I had so much fun playing it, and it was great to bond with my sister over it. This game absolutely deserves the praise it's been getting. I just wish to see some of these problems ironed out so that it can shine brighter. So, no straight roads? You get an okay emoji from me. I wish the devs good luck on any future endeavors. Okay, so before I conclude today's video, I just have a small announcement to make. You can now support the channel by becoming a member. There are 2 tiers. The first one is specifically for support, that is the gamers, and then the second tier is the more epic gamers. So you guys would get videos a day earlier than everyone else. If you want to help support me, why not be a member? Another way you can support me is by visiting the merch store. I just recently added 3 new designs that you can buy. 2 stickers and a face mask. Okay, so that really is everything. Thank you very much for sitting through this video, and I'll see you later, gamers.